All right. Hey, welcome to our chart spotlight on Frank Loesser. Frank is um, quite well known amongst people who are familiar with Broadway. He has written 5 Broadway shows, but more importantly, he has over 700 lyrical credits to his name, and also he wrote the music and lyrics for all of his 5 Broadway shows. He even wrote the book for one of them. So this is Shane, dailyastrocat.com, and this is our chart spotlight on Frank Loesser. Now, Frank was born in New York City, and that would be in 1910. So our chart is going to be for June 29th, 1910. There he is. Okay, so we got Frank Loesser. There he is in 1936. That's a Paramount Studios headshot. Okay, he wrote musicals. He wrote music for musicals, the lyrics, before World War II, in over 60 movies for Paramount. So this is quite an accomplished individual, born in New York City, and we primarily know him for this one right here, Guys and Dolls. That's him right there. Frank Loesser right there. Words, music, and lyrics by. Okay, so got quite a guy here, right? Let's take a look at the chart. So this is a chart. This is what happens if you pull this up online. You'll get this chart where it's set for Aries at the first house, and they just kind of like go around. So this would be your first house, second house, third house, fourth house. That was just random. That's not the chart that I'm going to use, because the chart that I want to use is this one right here. It is going to be let's see. Did I get it for myself? No, probably not. Hold on. Oh, there it is. All right, we're going to use this chart right here. Now, I've taken this chart and it's basically set for 8:45 in the morning. Now, the reason why it's set for 8:45 in the morning, when the birth time is unknown, such as with Frank Loesser, you can kind of rectify the charts by events in their lifetime, and that's when you try to find the time for a chart. That's called a chart rectification. Uh, this is just based on a couple of different things that I happened to see when I was doing some of the basic research for this. Not everybody off the street is a Frank Loesser expert, right? So here we have a chart set for New York City, New York, and it's set for 8:45 in the morning. 8:45 in the morning would make him a Leo ascendant, which is pretty good because his name was pretty prominent on those playbills, right? There's 5 playbills. His name is prominent with him. He started his own music publishing company. He did some other things. So he's a very public-facing person. That Leo in the first house really makes it happen. The Mars in the first house with the Leo makes it kind of a go-getter attitude, right? We've got all right. So let's take a look at this chart and see what stands out to us on it, because there's some very interesting things going on here. Venus is conjunct with the North Node. Now we got that Venus North Node conjunction right here, and it happens to be trine with Uranus in the sixth house of Capricorn. This is a hardworking individual. What you do is you look at the sun, you look at the ascendant, and we look also at the moon. That moon in Pisces, that's a creative person, right? We've got Venus in the anaretic degree of Taurus. Now, Venus in Taurus is very much at home, and it's that appreciation of beauty, a good life. Also, it's very creative. So that creativity comes forward on steroids. Here, now there's one other interesting factor here that has to do with the moon. And the moon is opposing Jupiter down here. Now, that moon opposing Jupiter is something else. Jupiter is usually seen as a paternal influence. That would be the father. Now, his father was a piano teacher, okay? But he never taught Frank how to play piano. Frank couldn't read music. He wrote music. He had secretaries that would take down the tunes that he would peck out on a piano because he'd never learned how to read music. He didn't learn how to, he taught himself how to play the piano. He taught himself how to write songs and lyrics. And his father never taught him that. There's a tension there. But his father ended up dying when he was young, not very young, but his father died when he was 16, and you can see that moon in the eighth house. That's that tension, right? That eighth house. That's the house of changes. It's the house of coming into something, of inheritance, perhaps. So that very same thing that he resists, he kind of it's into. It's the music thing, right? It's the art. Pisces, that's art. That moon is at 28 degrees 51 minutes of Pisces. That's very, very close to that anaretic degree. That's only 9 seconds. That's only 9 minutes away. So we have 9 minutes in Pisces on this chart with the moon. So here's a person that's very much in touch with feelings and the zeitgeist and everything. And now we have this 11th house with Mercury. Boom. 11th house Mercury on this chart in Gemini. Talk about versatility, right? Frank Loesser was produced 5 Broadway plays. He's considered one of the most versatile, there's that word again, of all the Broadway composers. That's what he did. He's a versatile composer. He did 5 musicals, and they were all very much different from each other. Their names are Where's Charlie, Guys and Dolls, The Most Happy Fella, Green Willow, and How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. Now, all of these are award-winning. He had those EGOT things they talk about. He never won an Emmy because television wasn't a big focus back then, but he won an Oscar. And you know what he won an Oscar for? A song in 1948 that appeared in a movie, Baby It's Cold Outside. Now, 1948, Baby It's Cold Outside. He used to perform that at parties with his wife. And his wife was mad when he sold it to the studio because she was like, that's our song. You can't sell that song. Right? Okay. So here's our house of partnerships here. We've got the declining thing there. We also have, look, Venus on that anaretic degree, tied with his career. Look, and there's a nice square with that descendant right there. Okay, in that house of partnerships. He was married twice. Okay, he got divorced on his first from his first marriage. He ended up having 5 children. And 5 children. You can see empty house down here in Sagittarius. That's our house of children, the 5th house. It's also a house of creativity. It's also a house of creative expression. It's not just because it's empty. It doesn't mean there's no action there. That's in Sagittarius. That's a good way to explore creativity. It's very explorational. The ruler of that would be the Jupiter in Libra, right? Jupiter in Libra. Hey, you got to balance everything out. You got to balance out what you do creatively and what you don't do creatively. Now, curiously enough, that Mars in the 1st house, this guy took some time off and he joined the Air Force during World War II. The Greatest Generation, that's what these guys did, right? So when he joined the Air Force, he was with the Special Operations for Entertainment, and he ended up writing Praise the Lord and Pass the Ammunition. He wrote a ballad of, I think it's called Ballad of Billy Rogers. Is that what it is? You've got a guy who did his patriotic duty. He did what he had to for country. That's that larger we of Aquarius, right? That's where Gemini is. So you do that. You're versatile. That's where he actually was writing with other composers. And then he began composing his own music, because before he was doing strictly lyrics for MGM and Paramount. So when he stopped doing that, after World War II, is when he started writing his own music and composing his own music for the Broadway musicals. And that's a very interesting thing. Now we have Neptune also opposite Uranus in the 6th house. So you can see where that service kind of changed and transformed his creativity. In this chart, the sun happens to be in the 12th house of Cancer. So now Cancer, we know, is a creative sign. We said that it makes memories. Baby, it's cold outside. That's a memory, right? Guys and Dolls, Luck Be a Lady Tonight, Sit Down, You're Rocking the Boat. Those are memorable tunes. This man crafted memories. 700 songs. There were many hits. He actually worked in Tin Pan Alley, which is in New York. And when he was writing for the studios, he actually moved to California. And then after this, he got out of the Air Force, I believe, after World War II. It was the U.S. Army Air Force. He moved back to New York to start writing musicals. And New York was the place where his heart was at and that he loved the best. So we have the sun, 12th house in New York City, right? And 12th house suns. A 12th house sun can be very much in touch with things that that are other, right? That's the Pisces house. So what is he doing in the 12th house with a 12th house sun? A 12th house sun opens us up to the feelings of other people. He's able to tap into a creative zeitgeist, particularly with that Mercury being in the 11th house, just being able to use that knack, that uncanny knack for finding a song, for being able to express it, to be able to do it in such a way. And with that creativity sitting right there in Venus, holy cow. Yeah, and that's conjunct the North Node. That's what he's born to do. This guy is born to be a versatile entertainer. He won that Oscar that I told you about. He also won a Pulitzer Prize for one of his plays. He won Tony Awards, and surely there's a Grammy in there as well. So he did win a Grammy. I don't know what year, and I don't remember what for, but there's a Grammy in there as well, where he's at now. You can also see where his son is trine Chiron, and being a you have to listen to what the things are, to what you do. Now, with Neptune being opposite Uranus, you have to remember this was in the 40s where people smoked a lot, and there's lots of pictures of him sitting there writing music with a cigarette in his mouth. He died at the age of 59 of lung cancer. So that's not to say that this is a bad aspect here, but with Neptune being in that 12th house, and Neptune is addictions, and we all know that nicotine is very much an addiction, and it's opposite Uranus here. There's nothing to give us timing or anything like that, but it should not surprise anyone that this should be ultimately what would happen, right? Pluto being in the 11th house is kind of interesting because that's that generation, right? They got up and they had the power in the collective, the communication, the ideas, the thinking, right? They had to go out there and figure out how they can get stuff to work. How can they make this happen? How can, something breaks, you got to fix it, right? You got to get it done. There's kind of like a can-do attitude to that generation that they just did it, right? Situation normal, all effed up. You could fix a Jeep with a piece of baling wire. This is what people did. This is what they did back then. They figured out ways to get around these things and then make stuff happen. You save, you scrimp, you do what you have to do. But we're looking at these things, and this is what it's telling us about work ethic, drive, and what we do to succeed. Of 700 songs, that's a lot of songs. That's a lot of songs, and he was a very happy person. He said that he had the best job that he could possibly imagine, and he couldn't imagine one better. He says, you have no idea how great it is, and I will definitely take his word for it. So that's what we got for you, okay? That's a pretty interesting chart. Just kind of a way to kind of boil it down. There's a bunch of passions there. There's a bunch of stuff going on, right? We have... Oh, it's just this is a good chart for a Cancer, because that Cancer is that making memories, and those shows and everything made for great memories, and those songs make for great lyrics and great memories. So the Cancer memories are very strong. The Pisces creativity with the moon taps into something very vital and makes sure that it's there. We have that little bit of influence from the father, kind of like being ignored, but yet being the cause of the stardom. A little bit more fame. We have a postage stamp that came out for him in 1999. We have reviews and revivals, and you can still see Guys and Dolls performed by high schools and all of those things. So there's a little bit of life in here that endures. There's some endurance. There's something that is enduring about the legacy of this person that just it makes it seem like, oh, we're just barely scratching the surface. Not too many people. Um, I wouldn't say it's a common household name, Frank Loesser, but if you're into the Broadway scene, then definitely it is. So thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. I don't mean to ramble on, and I'm not going to. This is my spotlight for Frank Loesser. Probably could have been a little bit better, but I am just, like I said, we are doing this. We are figuring this out, and as we do it, it just gets a little bit better, right? Better and better each time. We're finding more things that are interesting about these charts, and it's a fascination. It makes us want to dig in deeper. You could look at this chart and just go deeper and deeper and deeper all the time, because that's what astrology is. It's fun. It's a way to just dig deep and get to know just a little bit more about um, factors that influence these things. So let me get out of this right now and sign off properly, stop sharing, and that's it. All right, that's what I got for you. Thank you so much for listening. Have a happy day. Happy astrocatting.